Heading back from a run. I really need to figure out something to do that isn't Instacart, I think, because I cannot seem to really get good workout here. I got like one Target run, and it wasn't really worth the pay. I'm going to talk here about a situation with a friend. I'm going to try to keep it vague, and I'm going to try to generalize it, because the goal of this blog is more to talk about general patterns, avoid venting. If I have to talk about a specific situation, it's always been, even in the older iterations, it was meant to be more like, well, here's how we generalize this to any number of, considerations, any number of similar situations. And those similar situations do come about, but I would consider her a very dear friend. That she might be one of my closest friends is more my fault, and just the kind of life I live. I don't think she ever wanted to be like that. Closest is okay. I don't really do besties. I don't really do favorite people. Not anymore, at least. I really tried to get rid of that habit. But I do have this, category I would call, the inner circle, and she's, the most recent addition to it. Used to be, a dozen people, closer to, 6 now, just, people who I know would step out of their way to take care of me if I needed it. Maybe not in the same way I'm proactive. I do tend to need to be the one to ask. Most people don't have the instincts I do, but I don't think anyone should be me. But blood for blood, right? Someone who at least would wish to do right by me, even if, and I mean, what I'm leading into here is, we had a hard friendship, Every single time we talked, it was good enough that I was like, yeah, this is exactly the sort of thing I'm looking for. And then when it got bad, but we were both going, as we both understand now, we were both going through kind of separate nightmares we either weren't really honest with ourselves or each other about. And finally, I think when we realized, we started kind of trying to work together, get in orbit, started to make a plan to, actually do this whole move together, but didn't work out. It probably shouldn't have. It's a little frustrating because, this actually probably would have been a pretty good situation for both of us, and, I kind of almost, depending on how things go, I might even be like, hey, you want to come up for a week? But that's, I think we need some time, and that's kind of what I'm getting into is, for a long time, I used to have this, value, ooh, I never close doors on anyone, ooh, I never give up on anyone. Unconditional love is not a virtue. It actually is a liability, and, just kind of tends to lead you into situations of abuse. This is not that kind of friend, but I have learned to close doors, and, because of that, and because the last situation we got in when that atomized got physically, it got very codependent in a way that was just kind of situational, and it was very frustrating. I felt like a backseat driver in the whole situation, and I just saw it happening, and I knew it was going to happen, but my support network had bottomed out. I really never like having any one person be the only person I'm venting things to, but for a couple weeks there, that kind of was what it was, and the other things were happening. I don't really think I caused the incident, but I definitely didn't help. I definitely kept I wasn't trying to push, but I pushed, and we both ended up in very dangerous positions where either one of us might have actually died. And frankly, if she had died and it was my fault, I'm like, I don't know I could keep going like that. I've done a lot of bad things. I'm definitely one of those people who I don't like when people call me a good person or a hero. I know what I do. Not what I do. I know what I've done in my 20s and before, and just what I'm capable of now if I have to survive. And I don't need to be a good person or anything, but I'd like to be a good friend, and I wasn't to her for some time. And we're not talking a bunch, but we're a little bit back in contact, and that's great. I'm glad we are. I care about her. I don't want to not talk at all. I even think, with some ample time, we could probably, some time and probably a conversation, we could probably, maybe not, we can't really go back to where we were. We really shouldn't, though. That was very, this is kind of, us in recovery, and that's a different vibe. And, at the end of recovery, from experience, people tend to be in different places, and that's fine, none of that's bothering me. It's just, it's the situation where, I'm very, when we exchange texts, I'm pretty happy, but, I do have this lingering hurt, and it's frustrating because I know that, I'm not going to claim that, it goes away with a single sentence, but, a single "we're good" would probably... I do tend to be the kind of person who gets close to people who have a hard time saying affirmative things lately, within the past few years. And, even again, I'm not going to list friends, but that's at least 4 or 5, people. And a part of that's, I'm pretty good at hearing, when I'm not stressed out, I'm pretty good at hearing the more subtle stuff. But this is definitely one of those situations where, I have to trust, okay, I don't think she would be entertaining this if she needed to go, but, no, clarification of, oh, yeah, we're still friends has happened. It's just been me saying what I want. I don't want it to just be what I want. I'm sick of things being what I'm sick of feeling like caring about people is some kind of thing I inflict on them, and feeling violence. And it has been, I definitely have had situations where I've had trouble letting go when I really should. And maybe at this point it was that. It doesn't feel like that anymore. And this is more my problem than her. I don't think she's thinking about it. I think she's just fine. That may not fine, but I don't think she needs I don't know. It just, at some point I have to accept this is what I wanted. This is the kind. These are the kind of people I like getting close to, and frankly, it's because in a lot of ways most of them have some commonalities with me. Most people who get fucked up like this don't externalize this much, and I'm not going to pretend I'm the same as anyone, and I know the difference between mine and her situation, but I guess I'm coming to this point where, I'm trying to thread this line of, I want to be in her life and her be in mine. And, in some capacity. I'm not sure I really have any specific desires there. But then, I also do feel like I very much... I don't know, it might just be... I need to rebuild trust, and maybe it's that simple. And I don't entirely know how to approach that. And this is probably a thing I should be talking about with Mia. Mia dropped that last session. She might think I'm ghosting her. I should really reach out to her. But yeah, I mean, it'll be fine. And even if it's not, it's moved from it's not going to be it's moved into the thing where, when we part, it'll be sad. And that happens with any friend, any parting. Everyone stops being friends at some point. I've accepted that. I'd like if she'd ripped the Band-Aid off, if that's the case. I do think she would have, though, if she didn't. I would also like if at some point she could maybe just, hey, I want to be friends. I'm glad we're friends. Say nice things. But, again, that's a problem with, a fair amount of friends right now. And maybe I just, again, I can't both need that much affirmation and then pursue the kinds of connections I do, I think. But the hard thing is, when I meet the happy people, when I meet the affirming people, they make me anxious. And when someone says they care about me, I have a panic attack, so... yeah. Alright. Well. Sign-offs.